It took the channel 2 years for it to gain any sort of traction where the revenue was okay. And then one day, Jaguar reached out and we love to present the launch of this new car for us. And they put an offer in front of me that was more than I earned in my full-time job for the previous 12 months.
This guy has over 1 million subscribers, 266 million views, and a life that looks like a fever dream. Supercars, exclusive factory tours, private collections, manufacturer access that most journalists never even get close to. And on the surface, the story makes total sense.
This is First Motors Dubai, the most exclusive car dealership
in the world.
And today, I'm going to try and calculate the value of their incredible stock with someone who puts the prices on these machines.
Mr JWW, a guy who loves cars, picks up a camera, works hard, and somehow ends up in the middle of the most exclusive automotive world on the planet. But here's the thing. A lot of people started asking a very simple question. How? Not in a hateful way, just genuinely. How does someone go from zero to this? Because the cars alone cost millions. The travel is constant. The access is not the kind of thing you get by just emailing a PR team. So people started digging, and what they found was not some giant hidden scandal or a smoking gun moment. It was actually something quieter than that. And honestly, that makes it way more interesting. Because what they found was a second layer underneath the passion and the polished videos. A layer made up of family money, business records, industry connections, and a commercial machine that was running the whole time, just not really talked about on screen. And once people saw that layer, they could not unsee it. So in this video, we're going to go through the whole thing, where he actually came from, what the records actually show, what happened in 2021 that completely split his audience, and where all of this seems to be heading now. So let's start at the beginning. The reason suspicion appeared so early is simple. People saw the lifestyle before they understood the backstory, the supercars, the international launches, the factory access, and people were watching this relatively new creator, Mr JWW, just casually living inside that world. So naturally, the questions started coming up in forums and comment sections. Where's the money coming from? And to his credit, Mr JWW answered that himself in a 2017 interview. His dad raced Formula Ford. His uncle was a well-known Aston Martin specialist, his grandfather sold classic cars, and he mentioned that before YouTube, he had built a business around developing and patenting a tan-through swimwear material, which gave him the money to actually buy the cars he wanted. That sounds like a reasonable explanation. But once people started looking into it, the picture got a bit more specific. Company's house filings show James William Walker listed as one of the people with significant control of Koenigsegg Limited, alongside John William Walker and Anne Vanessa Walker. Google Patents lists both of them as inventors on a tan-through material patent assigned to Koenigsegg Holdings. So this was a real family business with patents and shared ownership behind it. That changes the story slightly. Not in a dishonest way, but the idea that he just figured it out through YouTube was never really the full picture. There was a foundation already there, and then there is the second discovery, which is honestly more interesting. If you go to his own website, it does not describe a passion project. It describes a commercial platform. None of this is hidden, it is right there publicly, but once viewers noticed it, the way they looked at the channel shifted, because the voice on screen felt personal and genuine, but behind it was a proper media company with staff, infrastructure, and commercial deals. And for a lot of people, that gap between the image and the reality is where the suspicion really started to take root. So that is the background, but if there is one moment where everything actually caught fire, it was February 2021. Chris Harris, a Top Gear presenter and a well-respected name in the car world, posted a tweet calling out an unnamed influencer. The allegation was specific. This influencer had approached Litchfield Motors with a proposal where Litchfield would fit a Nitron suspension kit on a Toyota GR Yaris for free, pay £25,000 on top of that, and hand over a percentage of future sales, all in exchange for coverage on the channel. Harris did not name anyone, but the internet moved fast. Because of the GR Yaris connection and the conversations already happening in car communities, attention landed on James Walker almost immediately. Carscoops documented the whole sequence as it played out. 2 days later, Ian Litchfield went on Harris's podcast and described it in pretty plain terms. He said the approach came out of nowhere, that what started sounding like a normal project proposal slowly turned into something he described as being shaken down.
We spoke to them because we want to know when they want to do it more than anything else, more of a timing issue. And then they'd want additional payment over and above any discount we might be able to provide on the kit for their car, as well as future sales. And I just got more and more annoyed by the brazenness of it.
A small independent business with tight margins being asked to pay a creator for the privilege of featuring on their channel. That detail alone changed the tone of the whole conversation, and that is exactly why it spread so quickly. Because it was not just an awkward business proposal. It landed on top of something people had already been feeling for a while. The sense that supercar YouTube had quietly shifted from genuine enthusiasm into a system where access and advertising had become almost impossible to separate. This gave that frustration something real to point at. What followed for Mr. JWW was rough. His social media got flooded, and he described it as cyberbullying. He consulted his legal team before saying anything publicly. When he did respond, he was clear that he never had direct contact with Litchfield himself. An agency he worked with had made the approach. He also pushed back on the cold call framing, saying conversations had already been ongoing before that. He acknowledged that he does commercial deals, but said he only moves forward when they genuinely work for both sides. He then invited the agency involved to join him on a podcast to go through it properly, saying his audience deserved full transparency. A few months later, he appeared on Drive-In Chat specifically to talk about what happened and what it did to him and his brand. And here's where it is worth stepping back and being fair. Nothing in the public record proves some hidden agenda, but it was a genuine credibility hit. Some people on Reddit were caught off guard because they had genuinely seen him as one of the more down-to-earth creators in that space. Others pointed out that even Harris himself questioned on the podcast whether he was out of touch with how influencer marketing actually works now. There was no clean verdict, but there was a clear split. After that week, some people could still see a creator trying to navigate a messy industry. Others just could not unsee the business logic sitting underneath everything. And honestly, that split never fully closed. And that split never really went away. You can still see it playing out in car communities today. On one side, there are people who genuinely rate him. In Aston Martin forums, commenters have pointed out that when he focuses on the actual car, the history, the details, the access he can get to workshops and factory floors, he is hard to fault. That side of the channel still holds up. People who watch him for that specific thing tend to stay loyal. But then there is the other side. On Piston Heads, when he announced the Koenigsegg London dealership, the reaction was noticeably split. Some people saw it as a natural next step for someone genuinely embedded in that world. Others were more blunt. One commenter called him a charlatan who words things carefully to give an impression that may not be what it seems. That Koenigsegg connection is actually worth pausing on. His own website's case studies claim he influenced over £30 million in UK Koenigsegg sales. That is not a small number. And it tells you exactly what the channel had quietly become at that point. Not just entertainment, but a direct commercial pipeline into the highest end of the hypercar market. Whether you see that as impressive or uncomfortable probably depends on what you thought you were watching in the first place. In broader UK car community threads, there is also a more general fatigue starting to show. People who used to watch him regularly now group the channel alongside a wave of aspirational car content that has started to feel like a loop. Buy it, modify it, love it, sell it, and repeat. The individual videos are still well made, but the overall arc has started to feel more like a format than a journey. And once an audience starts seeing formula instead of discovery, it is hard to pull them back. So, the dark side of Mr. JWW theory is not strongest when it becomes wildly conspiratorial. It is strongest when it stays realistic. The available evidence points toward four things. First, Mr. JWW did not emerge from nowhere. He had deep automotive roots and meaningful business backing. Second, the channel evolved into a formal commercial platform with infrastructure, staff, partnerships, and associated companies. Third, the 2021 Litchfield controversy turned a private suspicion into a public narrative. And fourth, the audience never fully agreed on whether that narrative revealed hypocrisy, normal influencer business, or simply the growing pains of a creator who had outgrown the image that made him popular. That is why the theory has lasted. A lot of creator scandals burn out when they are either obviously false or obviously devastating. This one stayed alive because it lives in the gray zone. There is enough smoke for people to keep talking, but not enough fire to produce a definitive takedown. His own empire is aspirational enough to invite envy, structured enough to invite skepticism, and successful enough to survive both. The result is that Mr. JWW now occupies a strange space in car culture. He is still admired for access and presentation, but he is also one of those creators people use as shorthand when talking about how passion content can become luxury influencer business. And that is really the whole story. A creator who built something real, had real advantages doing it, and eventually grew into something much bigger than the original audience signed up for. Whether that is a dark side or just how this industry works, that is probably down to you. Drop a comment with what you actually think. I am genuinely curious where people land on this, and if you want more videos like this one, you know what to do. Tuna No Crust, signing off.